We got each other. We're in the swing of things now.
Oh, God. Yeah, kind of. There's sort of a routine here. It's kind of nice.
Hello, and welcome to episode 4 of the Hamsteakpodcast, a podcast about Homestuck.
My name's Lydia. I've read Homestuck before.
My name's Alex, and I'm reading for the first time.
If you're following along at home, we are picking up today's reading on page 2,209. That's not literally 2,200 pages into the story. It's just the number at the end of the URL that you can use to reference the pages. Alex, do you want to take us through the previously on?
Sure. So, when we left off, Rose, who we met last time, had descended from the observatory to get the generator from behind the mausoleum at our house to reconnect with John, who is stuck somewhere mysterious.
Right, because Rose is John's server player in this beta version of a game called Suburb, and she's got control over his environment, but she can't really see what he's doing or help him out, because she's obviously got no power, no Wi-Fi, Life is bad. There's, meteors coming down around her house. It's fun.
Yep.
And then we left you last week with a cliffhanger that I arbitrarily inserted by deciding to divide the reading up that way. So after getting totally faked out on Rose supposedly going to confront her mother in the hallway, we find ourselves actually staring at some blonde kid with sunglasses. So the blonde kid, as it turns out, is Dave. This is Dave.
The third child.
Yes. I think the story has pretty sufficiently led on by now that we are to expect 4 children.
Mm-hmm. And it kind of plays with our expectations about the intro of this child now. Such as the past 2 children, we have the audience has given them goofy names before finding out their real names. And Dave just cuts the dialogue box in half before that can finish up.
Yeah. He is not having any of that, because Dave wants us to know that Dave is, cool as hell.
Yeah. So his real name is Dave Strider.
Right.
Which, to me, sounds a lot like a generic protagonist name, like Jack Hunter.
Dave is not having being called an insufferable prick by the audience.
Nope.
And then we learn some things about tough protagonist Dave Strider's many interests, which continue to feel, as we meet more and more characters, sort of more and more contrivedly strange. Am I wrong? And is that perception misplaced, or?
I don't know, I feel kind of like the Lovecraftian psychology is less weird than photography and dead things.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely feels very arbitrary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I kind of feel like it is.
Yeah.
Obviously, a couple of them are going to be relevant to the character.
Right.
But I can't see every single thing coming back, especially since you've said with John that not everything comes back.
Right, yeah, John, we lose a lot of John's interests. We completely forget most of Dave's interests, which is just, reading these intros, I love, because I forgot where these kids started. I forgot how, they have weird interests, but I forgot how grounded these kids are. Mm-hmm. I kind of like the sort of belabored introduction because they, live and breathe from day one.
Yeah.
They feel very authentic and, pretty rich. And, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess, later in the story, obviously, things happen and they can't go about their normal lives. So it's good to introduce their interests and such at the beginning and kind of flesh them out as characters when that stuff can't really be put later on, I guess.
Right. Right, because we learn a lot about them in terms of their personalities and in terms of their development later on. So
yeah.
It's nice to have the hashtag relatable stuff right now. So we learn some stuff about Dave. We poke around in Dave's room, and we see that Dave has got the same sort of one-upmanship going on with his bro, who we can assume is his caretaker, that we see with John and his dad and Rhoda and his mom.
Except it seems like Dave really loves his brother, like, very much.
Yeah, Dave, like, clearly idolizes his bro. We see later on that he, you know, just goes on and on about, like how, or not necessarily goes on and on, but, like, never mentions his bro without saying, like, how cool something is that his bro did or whatever brought up his bro. And he's, like, trying to emulate him, and he, like, mentions, like, trying to, like, I don't know, do the things that his bro recommends him to do, which is funny because at the same time they do seem to have this one-upmanship going on, so I don't know. Either way, it's, like, strange living situation dynamics.
So we see that John gave Dave some authentic Ben Stiller sunglasses for his birthday, and they're the sunglasses that Dave is wearing at the moment, which is really sweet.
It's really extremely... I love Dave and John's friendship. They're really... I don't know. I feel like for as much as we see, like, male friendship, like, portrayed and glorified in the media, we don't see, like, men being, or boys being, like, especially boys being, like, thoughtful with each other.
Yeah, it's really nice to see.
Yeah. I actually wrote, at one point, Dave is thinking to himself, like, oh, it's a good thing I looked at that box that John sent me, because otherwise, like, oh, like, you, meaning I, because the narrator is speaking in second person, you might have forgotten John's birthday. And I was just like, no, you wouldn't. Like, he's a sweetheart.
Aw.
I want to talk about Dave's browser. So, we talked about, so... The last two kids that we've met so far, their browsers have been Cetus. Who was the other one? Rose has Cetus, and John has Typheus, right? Yeah. So Dave has Hephaestus, which, first of all, I'm just very interested in the variety of the browser choice that we're seeing here. But also, so Dave has Hephaestus, and I think that's interesting because so far they've all been monsters, but Hephaestus is like a guy. Yeah. Like, he's a god. And so, I mean, you probably are familiar with him from, you know, mandatory classical god learning, which I don't know why we teach that in schools, but we do.
Well, I learned all that independently a lot earlier than I was taught it.
Oh, okay. Well, then can you tell us about Hephaestus?
Yeah, Hephaestus is the Greek god of blacksmithing, basically. But also, I'm just gonna look at the Wikipedia that you put here. Also, craftsmen, artisans, and sculptors, and things like that, and volcanoes. His Roman version is Vulcan, which is what Spock's home planet is named.
Yes, I'm nodding as though you can see me. Yes.
But yeah, basically he's like fire and metal, but he's also supposed to be really kind. And he's got like a prosthetic leg.
Yeah, he's supposed to be... I think he is, like... Yeah, he's got some kind of prosthetic... I think it is a prosthetic leg, right? Because people talk about, like, him, like, having... Like, he was, like, supposedly thrown off of the mountain.
Yeah. So it's interesting that, like, a god has, doesn't regenerate his leg. Because, I mean, even in the same mythos with Prometheus... who, like, regenerated his bowels every day.
Oh, God. Yeah. I know. It's interesting. Maybe it's meant to say something about it being more integral to sort of the essence of who Hephaestus is, rather than just
he chose to keep this prosthetic leg, which is sweet. Yeah. And he's supposed to be, like, very homely, very unattractive, but married to Aphrodite, the goddess of beauty and love.
Wait, I completely forgot that. Oh my god, they are my classical mythology OTP.
Well, I don't think she's, like... I don't remember if she's always faithful to him. But...
It's Greek mythology, what do you expect?
Yeah.
I'm just happy. They're together and they don't seem terribly unhappy.
Yeah, that's true.
Is the main thing.
Hold on, I want to look up Aphrodite and Hephaestus. The first. Okay, wait. Don't type anything. Can you guess what the first result for Aphrodite and Hephaestus is?
Porn.
Fan fiction.
Ah!
And then Aphrodite and Hephaestus Disney, Aphrodite and Hephaestus summary, Aphrodite and Hephaestus child fan fiction, which I don't know what that is. I'm going to click that one. Does it mean it's written by a child, or is it about their child?
I think that's probably what it is. They want to know about their kids. The internet is an adorable place sometimes.
So pure. Oh, this is all... of course. This is all from the Disney movie. Aphrodite is getting ready for the wedding of Hercules and Meg. Oh my god. Okay, we can't go down this rabbit hole anymore. So,
in our Homestuck podcast today, we're going to learn about... So we're hanging out with Dave. We're meeting Dave, right?
Yeah.
And this conceit was sort of hinted at when we were meeting Rose, but it's becoming more and more obvious now. Where every time we meet a new character, we're actually going back. At least for the kids, we're going back to the same moment in time. Like the moment when the reader first sees them is the same moment.
Okay.
For all of them chronologically. So we meet Dave. We bum around with Dave for a while, and then Dave has, it is just copy-pasted onto this page, the first conversation that we see John and Dave have.
Yeah.
And you can tell from the timestamp, it's 4:13 p.m., it's interesting that he's got that timestamp because John is in the Pacific Northwest, and Dave, as we will later find out, is in Texas. We don't find this out for a while, but it's not... I don't know. I don't feel like it's an important spoiler. It literally is never relevant again. Dave is in Texas, which is why it's hot as fuck.
There's 4:13 again.
In April. Right, yeah. What's weird to me is that he's got the timestamp set the same as his friend in the Pacific Northwest instead of his own location. I'm not sure if that's a narrative inconsistency or just kind of, charming. Mm-hmm. Because it does seem like these kids don't necessarily have a lot of friends outside of their internet companionship.
Maybe,
yeah. Which, seems to resonate a lot with a lot of people. Not that, I had no friends at that age, but, I definitely had, the friends that I did have, I spent more time talking to on the internet than in real life, usually. So, even though, we went to school together or whatever, we couldn't drive and we lived too far away to see each other, so...
Yeah.
To, walk to each other. So, yeah, after school, it was all right, gonna sit on AOL Instant Messenger.
So the next thing I want to talk about is how Dave is canonically the creator of Sweet Bro and Hella Jeff in this universe.
Yes. Is he the creator or is it Bro? I'm gonna check this. I'm gonna fact check you here. He
said, this is the webcomic that I make.
Oh, yeah.
I have this intricate online persona of the person who makes this.
Yes.
Because he runs a bunch of, ironic blogs. Mm-hmm. He pretends to be a bunch of people on the internet. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And he, thrives off of people getting trolled by him or something. Mm-hmm. So he's, that's his hobby.
Yeah, okay, so here is the thing. Alex, did you read Sweet Bro and Hella Jeff?
No.
You didn't read it?
I think I missed the boat.
You should go click it right now. Go to page 2226 and then click on the link to Sweet Bro and Hella Jeff and read that.
2000... Wait, what was it?
2226.
2226.
I will read along with you because I fucking love Sweet Bro and Hella Jeff. Just, gaze upon this fucking website.
Oh. Hold on. No, because I know of Sweet Bro and Hella Jeff. Mm-hmm. I thought it was an actual comic that someone made.
It is, yeah. Are you on page 2226?
Yeah, and now I'm at Sweet Bro and Hella Jeff.
Okay, and you're, reading the comic.
Yes. Is Sweet Bro and Hella Jeff just this one image?
No. Scroll down.
Yeah, I can't wait to be a useless piece of shit all day and play these games, just like me.
Right, and then, like, it's a comic. But then, like, the navigation works. Like, it is... They've got shirts. They, like, they kickstarted and published an entire, like, hardcover book. There are at least 46 comics. I think there are more.
Okay, but my question is, was this made entirely, like, in-universe in Homestuck?
Yes.
I thought this was, like, someone else's weird comic that Andrew Hussie was jokingly taking credit for on behalf of Dave.
No, he literally invented this entire comic.
I had no idea. Oh my god.
So wait, have you read Sweet Bro and Hella Jeff comics before?
No, I've just seen, like, the imagery of them.
Ah.
I know of them.
God.
Oh my god.
There is so much wrong with Homestuck, but, like, it actually is, like, quite good.
I had no idea this was an in-universe Homestuck joke.
Yeah. Oh my god. It just... Fuck.
I told you about the stairs, bro.
I told you, dog. It keeps happening. Oh my god. Whatever. All right. So now that now that we've untangled that whole...
I'm just gonna go ahead and add Sweet Bro and Hella Jeff to my reading list.
Well, so it actually, I believe it updates, all of the updates are within the narrative, so you can just read them along with this comic if you want.
All right.
Yeah.
That's what I'll do.
So, in the vein of comics within comics, we leave Sweet Bro and Hella Jeff and almost immediately move into the Midnight Crew.
Yes.
Which we read sort of through Dave's eyes on the comics version of mspaintadventures.com, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just this comic about... I'm mentioning this because it will be important later. It's this comic about, like, some mob types. They're these, like, almost insectoid-looking creatures because they're, like, completely, like, all jet black and their wardrobe is black and they're, like, completely, like, rounded and, like, generic. Like, they have no facial features. Like, their heads are just completely plain and go into their... none of them have, like, necks, I think. And, like, they're just, like, these strange-looking people.
Like, these images are their literal representations.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, this is literally what they look... They look like Problem Sleuth characters, pretty much. But, like, vaguely more sinister because they're all wearing, like, fedoras and...
jet black trench coats.
And they have, like, evil-looking eyes and stuff. And they're, like, about to go plot a heist is really the main thing.
Right.
But we find that they are stuck in their hideout because someone is parked on top of the door.
Oh.
To the door opens out of the ground and there's a van parked on top of it. So, it continuing in a long and proud vein of characters being stuck behind doors... We have the Midnight Crew.
Sorry.
And also, wait, but go ahead. You go ahead first, and then I will...
Is Midnight Crew also an in-universe comic, or is it real?
No, it's in the universe.
Okay.
Yeah, and that doesn't have its own website. All the Midnight Crew comics are just sort of inline.
Okay.
But, so I'd also like to point out on page 2231, I don't know if you noticed this, there's an arm sticking out of the wall.
Oh.
In the top left corner.
There sure is.
There's an arm with a little bit of a light blue glow.
Mm-hmm.
That was retconned in about 7,000 pages after this.
Okay.
And that's really all I can tell you because it like is actually like kind of a huge going on.
Sure.
It's like part of like the crux of the whole story is that this arm has gotten retconned. And, like, not that arm in particular, but that whole process.
Yeah.
So stay tuned, folks.
All right.
For more, but yeah, so I'm a little bit annoyed going back and rereading this. It's kind of like when you try and watch Star Wars, like the original trilogy of Star Wars, but, like, you have to, like, you try and watch, like, the DVD version and there's, like, just shit in it.
Yeah.
Like, there's just, like, new shit, and it's like...
Yeah.
At least this is, like, plot-relevant new shit, but I'm still, like, you can't...
Oh, God.
Are the original panels online anywhere? Like, have I just lost the experience of this, like, elbow-free Midnight Crew panel forever? I don't know.
Yes, it is lost to time.
R.I.P. Okay, so then we have a lovely, casually problematic interaction between Rose and Dave.
Yeah, let's just skip over that.
We'll just skip over that.
Just some rude language and Rose being uncharacteristic again.
Right, but, like, she's characterized quite well and just happens to be, like, choosing to use humor that is just not actually funny and kind of hurtful. So, when I promise the characterization dialogue gets better.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Which is cool because, so we do that, and we briefly see, so what's going on as Dave is having all of these conversations and, like, noodling around in his room, is John is very slowly, in, like, short and interspersed cuts, following this trail from his balcony into his bedroom of that, like, mysterious black oil stuff. But on a lighter note, we get to play around with this interactive beat generator in Dave's room.
Yeah, and it's so good.
It is. It's really fun. It's surprisingly full-featured.
It is.
I gotta say. You could make some pretty sick beats.
You can. So yeah, the text scrolling at the top of the machine actually credits all the beats.
Oh, nice.
Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I realize that, like, we keep... There's increasingly, like, stuff programmed into these pages, and there's music and stuff that we haven't been crediting. Some of it isn't credited inline, but some of it is. We're going to try and be better with that in the future. Mm-hmm. Because this comic, I had forgotten how collaborative it is sort of from day one.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a big team of people who've worked on this, and they deserve credit.
Nice. So I watched that whole credits scroll by. I watched that whole credits kind of murky, looking for Toby Fox's name, but I guess that he had not been part of the project at this point.
Yeah, I guess not.
Because most of them are actually by Robert J. Lake.
Okay.
And some of them are by Andrew Hussie himself, and there's a couple of other people as well.
Oh. I didn't know Hussie made any music. That's interesting. I mean, I guess it's not hard to just make a beat in GarageBand or whatever.
Yeah, they're just little loops. But yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So we leave Dave's little mix deck. Alex just wrote, "Aw, he love he brother." Why did you write that?
I don't remember. Oh, I think it's because he was looking at the puppet outside his room, and he's like, because his brother collects puppets, just like John's dad collects harlequins.
Oh God, yes, that is exactly what's happening.
But instead of being creeped out by these creepy little homunculi, he's just like, this is so cool. My brother's so cool. And it's really sweet. I
feel maybe this is colored by some things that we learn about puppets much later on. Mm-hmm. But I've always read Dave's, like, enthusiastic praise for his bro's puppets as, like, him desperately trying to make himself okay with living completely surrounded by fucking puppets all the time.
I can believe that.
You know, like, he's just taking the opposite approach of, like, Rose, of, like, instead of deciding that it's, like, toxic, just being like, fuck yes, I fucking love puppets. What could be cooler than this, like, vaguely, like, pimp caricature / also, like, old-timey guy marionette hanging in front of my bathroom door. Sick. So Dave wades through a bunch of fucking puppets to get a towel to clean up some juice that he spills everywhere. And proceeds to have a bunch of, like, Silodex fuckery going on.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's just interesting that, like, when he wrings out the towel, the name of the item turns from, like, wet towel just to towel, and that changes where it is in his Silodex.
Right, yeah, that's why I really find that mechanic interesting, because it seems like Dave can pretty much decide what he wants the name of the item to be, like, as long as it's not inaccurate.
Yeah.
I think I remember, like, more fuckery happening later on.
I'm sure.
Because there are limits to sort of how far you can push that.
Mm-hmm.
So then, in the vein of people losing their copies of the beta, Dave hangs up his betas that he has spilled. Because you have the player disc and the server disc. He accidentally spilled some juice on them, so he hangs them up on his like line in his room that he uses to like hang his photos to dry, because he does a darkroom thing.
Yeah, which
doesn't seem. I'm pretty sure you can't do that. Like, I think they need to stay in the dark while they develop.
Well, he probably has a curtain over his window when he's actually using it. I
guess, but, like, that's kind of a stretch. Like, it needs to be, like, completely pitch black. Like, I don't know, maybe
he has a really thick curtain.
Okay.
It's fine.
But, so speaking of curtains over his windows, his window is open right now, because it's a trillion degrees, because he's in Texas in the summer. Mm-hmm. And, inexplicably, an arbitrary crow flies in and grabs the discs because, fine, sure.
Yeah, because, gotta move the plot along. Gotta have some conflict.
Yeah, right. With the consequence that Dave goes stop, and, like, I think that causes his Siladex to chuck the ninja sword at the bird.
Yep, so I guess he, when he shouts verbs, things happen with his Siladex.
Yeah, which seems like it could have some important consequences, which, incidentally, this will have consequences straight through the present day. Not in necessarily a meaningful way. This does not strictly change how things play out. We just keep seeing a result of it. Mm-hmm. And it permeates. Like, we see it frequently, this motif of birds stabbed through the chest.
Oh.
Yeah. I told you this comic gets pretty dark pretty fast.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, he knifes this bird through the chest and sends it flying out his window. So it's this, like, sword in a bird holding his discs out the window. Dave's pretty boned at this point.
So also the window shatters, just like John's did, which is another interesting parallel in, like, the introductions of the characters.
John's window shattered?
Yeah, he had some glass shards in his Siladex, and they went into the Harlequin on the couch.
Right, so he, I didn't even notice that parallel, but yeah, what is it? He accidentally launches the PDA out of his Siladex, right?
And he goes through the window. And
then, and so he ends up with glass shards, and I imagine it's probably even, like, a reused shattered window graphic.
Probably.
So he launches something out a window, shattering his window.
Mm-hmm.
And then ends up maiming an object. Like a vaguely sort of sentient seeming object, right? We've got this continuing theme of like maimed or modified vaguely sentient presence, or not vaguely sentient, vaguely animal or human presences.
Sure.
Like the bird or the doll, Rose's squid doll.
Oh, right, yeah.
Squid Princess. I think we actually see Squid Princess in...
Yeah, we'll talk about that after.
Oh, okay, so we haven't even gotten there yet. I was going to say, are we done? We're not done.
Nope.
But yeah, so we've got maiming, we've got shattered windows. The list of motifs in this comic is alarmingly long.
I'm sure.
I love it. If you don't love it, this comic is perhaps not for you. Okay.
Speaking of motifs and connections between the characters, we switch back to Rose, who apparently her house, like John's house, is full of harlequins, and Dave's house is full of puppets. Rose's house is full of wizards.
Yes. Yes, I love it. I love the, like, loving description that we get from the narrator of this 20-foot-tall granite wizard statue and, like, his twinkling eyes and everything. Because it's just, like, I've never really thought very hard about what wizards look like or what they mean.
Sure.
And it just, like, the narration just lingers over this, like, mystical old guy for, like, uncomfortably long. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a relief when you go to the next page and Rose is just like, it's disgusting and I hate it. And then we're sort of following Rose on her way out the back door of her house. And on the way, she sort of stops to examine various battlegrounds in the ongoing, what she imagines to be a passive-aggressive war between her and her mother.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the vacuum with a cup holder for Mom's ubiquitous alcoholic drinks that the mom has bronzed and placed on a pedestal.
Yeah, right? There's even, like, she had an outlet put in there so she can keep it plugged in. Like, it's very sweet. And then, like, she goes into the kitchen and, like, there's this whole
mess on the fridge.
Oh, man. It's so, okay, so this is one of those things that you can interpret either as passive aggression or as, like, just weird affection.
Yeah.
Her mom, so Rose, when she was little, drew a picture of her cat Jaspers, R.I.P. Jaspers, and her mom bought a $15,000 frame for it and welded it to the fridge. And so Rose is just like, oh my god, she's mocking me. And at that point, like, I feel like with a childhood drawing in particular, I want to be like, she thinks that it's cute, and she thinks that you're her adorable baby girl, and you should maybe speak to your mother ever.
Yep.
But that's just me. It's very easy for me to say, no longer being 13 years old.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's a whole breakdown of communication going on that fridge. It's just read the comic. It's a good time. It
was probably one of my favorite segments so far.
Yeah. Oh, I love Rose and her mom. Hussie tells it better than we can. Just go read it.
Yeah. Well, I guess we can say that kind of back and forth. If you're reading along with us, but you don't want to scroll through the whole thing again, that thing starts on page 2265.
Yes. Right. You can jump in right there. And so as Rose is sort of lingering in her kitchen, gives her mom enough time to show up. Mm-hmm. To which she responds, "This bird's gotta fly!" And does a youth roll. I don't get the joke of youth roll. Like, I don't get why that's funny. Like, it's funny, but I don't understand. Is that a reference?
No, I feel like it's just because she is a youth, so she can, like, be casually acrobatic.
I see. Because all children are incredibly agile.
Well, compared to adults.
Okay. Yes, so Dave noodles around for a little while on his Generation 1 looking iPhone, which is pea sweet. That's one thing that's actually really funny, is that these characters, despite this comic honestly not being that old, like, it really is set in, I think, 2009.
Yeah.
But, like, nobody has Dave is, like, a cool kid early adopter, so he's got a smartphone, and everybody else just has, like, seems like, I think Rose has, like, a dumb phone.
Is that what you call it?
Like a flip phone, yeah.
I just call it a flip phone. I wouldn't call it a dumb phone. It's trying its best, Lydia.
That's what?
It's trying its best.
I'm sure it is. See, that's the thing. Like, I feel like I only say it because, A, it's kind of funny, and B, it helps I like emphasizing dichotomies when they're not toxic.
Sure.
Because they are, like, useful and interesting sort of cognitive something.
Sure.
Something.
All right.
But so these kids don't have smartphones, which is...
Framework. Cognitive framework.
There you go, yeah.
These kids don't have smartphones.
Yeah, these kids don't have smartphones, and I'm so interested in that because I feel like that is, like, one of, like, the next great sort of, like, digital divides, almost, like, kids who are mobile native and kids who aren't, because, like, I'm not mobile native. I had to learn how to text. Really, and it was, like, hard, and, like, I had to learn how to, like, you know, like, be adopting social media apps and whatever, but, like, even just, like, my siblings who are some amount of years younger than me, like, my brother who's 4 years younger than me, I feel like he's part of a hive mind because he's on Twitter and on Instagram, and these, like, kids, like, since they were in, like, middle school, have just always known what they were doing.
That's true. And also, like, Vine kids who are, like, immediately hilarious with the medium of Vine. Whereas, like, I tried to make a Vine, and it was just, like, a plant. Just, like, a video of a plant. I was like, this is a good Vine.
See, I mean, like, why have we decided that for a Vine to be good, it must be, like, a hilarious joke that everyone will want to repost? I feel like that's sort of just a false metric.
Sure, but I mean, that's also just what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, anyway, I think we could talk about Vines for hours.
Anyway, so about Homestuck. So... Right. Oh, so I was talking about the digital divide, or not the digital divide exactly, but...
The mobile divide?
Yeah, right. And how interesting it is that these kids, like, aren't necessarily, like, mobile device native, which is interesting because they're all going to continue to communicate via chat as they, like, go have adventures in physical worlds. Mm-hmm. But, like, they're lugging around laptops with them to, like, do that a lot of the time. Or at least for the start of the story. And, I just, like, I feel like it resonated a lot with me and with, like, the whole generation of, like, teens who did communicate with, like, desktop chat, which I think was actually a pretty narrow window. It was maybe, like, 8 to 10 years when that was a thing.
Yeah.
You know? I was on the ass end of it, too. And that's really all I guess I have to say. But, like, I just... Seeing the artifact of, like, what is already, it's anachronistic, really. Mm-hmm. Like, for, if you didn't really think about the fact that this is set in 2009, like, it's already anachronistic to the present in 2009 in, like, an important way. You know?
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? That's nuts.
It is. It's wild. Time is wild.
Yeah.
Time is meaningless. I feel like I have to say that every episode now. That's my catchphrase.
Oh, and also, I love John's comeback. Dave, like, delivers a number of sick burns, before ending the conversation, and John is just like, yeah, more like the opposite of all those things is the thing that is true.
Oh.
John is my favorite.
That's really good, yeah.
That's also exactly how I respond when people try to sick burn me. I think I've actually tried to say that quote, and I had forgotten that it was a Homestuck quote. It just seemed like a thing to say. And it just insinuated itself into my consciousness.
Good.
Yeah. Okay.
So we've been following John into his bedroom following this kind of trail of oil. Mm-hmm. And we finally see what this thing is, and it seems to be what was kind of hiding in the shadows in the sequence where his house was being, like, transported or whatever.
Right.
And it is like a little version of the Harlequin sprite, but, like, pitch black.
Yes, it's this little, like, monster-looking thing with, like, teeth. It actually looks like a teeny tiny version of one of the Midnight Crew characters, because, again, it's like a jet black, vaguely sort of insectoid-looking little guy with, like, angry-looking eyes and a Harlequin hat.
So, yeah. So, Rose and John are kind of both in strifes, which are the battles in Homestuck, simultaneously. So, I guess we'll first talk about Rose. So she's encountered her mother in the kitchen, and her mother is holding a martini glass, and they have the choice, again, to abscond, abjure, aggrieve, etc. So is that, like, the, is that the general strife, thing?
I think so, yeah. We stopped seeing UIs for Strife after a while, and I don't remember when.
So they don't stay interactive?
No, after a while it just becomes, like... It's amazing what he does with this medium of, like, single large panel, not visually juxtaposed, comics, he'll do, like, these silent fight scenes in that format, and they're quite beautiful and very, like, dynamic and engaging. But yeah, he does, well, because the fights become more, like, high stakes over time, and so instead of being, like, hokey UI, like, click the buttons, it's, like,
yeah,
cool. But yeah, we do move away from that mechanic, as it were.
Cool. So yeah, Rose fucking stabs her mother with her knitting needles.
She tries to. I'm not sure that... I think the implication is that she's unsuccessful.
Yeah, so there's like a block mechanic. They kind of are at an impasse. It's kind of like their war of attrition. Like, neither of them can really get a hit on each other.
Right, yes. Rose is just too youthful and spry and whatever, and her mother is just too good at somehow blocking all attacks while holding a martini glass.
Yeah. So yeah, the mom's abjure attack is a beautiful pony.
Yes.
A giant stuffed pony, which she gives to Rose as a present.
It's a real pony.
Oh, it's a like a live animal.
I'm pretty sure it's a real pony.
Oh my god.
The caption is "a beautiful pony," which we later find out that so they have this strife, right? And we can talk a little bit more about Mom's moves and stuff, but I just think it's funny that the way that it ends is that Rose's mom just decides that she's done. And she just stops.
Yeah.
And goes back to Rose calls it her ironic housewife routine. She's just vacuuming. And Rose is sort of making her way back out the house, and she walks past the pony and mentions that the pony's name is Maplehoof.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm pretty sure Rose named the pony.
Probably.
Rose is beautiful and precious.
Yeah, she has an angry face, but there's a little heart between them.
Yes.
It's very cute.
It's a very sweet moment. But yeah, so then Rose's sort of POV for the rest of this reading doesn't go much of anywhere. We keep cutting back to her, but she's essentially just, like, messing around with her modus, talking to people, and walking to the mausoleum where the generator is, because she needs power. And that's pretty much where we leave her, is she's on her way there. Outside, we see the pouring rain that she's outside in, and we can see that not only are there meteors falling down, but now it looks like the forest all around her house is on fire. So, and she hasn't even started playing the game yet. Yeah.
It's just other people playing the game is kind of destroying the world.
That, it would seem that way. But so meanwhile, as Rose is sort of engaged in this battle with her mom, we are also having a strife between... God, I'm so bad at this. So while Rose is having this strife with her mom, John is having a strife with what we find out is an imp. Wait, do we find out that it's called an imp?
Nope.
Okay. Forget that I ever said it was an imp. With this mysterious little monster that turns up in his room. John is strifing. And,
he is. So he pulls out his hammer, but he's tiny and small, and he breaks the hammer.
Yes.
So he ends up launching things out of his modus to hit the imp, and like he keeps picking things back up to launch the next item out. And it's just like this very cute back and forth of him kind of abusing the rules of the universe to actually get the job done because he can't really fight with his hammer.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I love it because Dave actually mentioned something earlier in this reading about how, like, he's trying to weaponize his own fetch modus, or weaponize his Sylladex, I think, because his bro has been telling him that's something that he needs to do. And, like, meanwhile, everyone's been, like, shitting on John's, like, stack modus.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm pretty sure, or, like, I think it's a Q right now. Like, so it's first in, last out. And so, the fact that John is able to fight just by picking stuff up and launching it out is, like, congratulations, buddy. You actually did weaponize your Sylladex.
Yeah.
Great job.
You kind of found a loophole.
Yeah. But yeah, so Alex... Nope. John.
Do you mean John?
So John
defeats the little monster.
Yes.
And there's kind of... Oh, wait, sorry, I wanted to talk about the music during the strifes. Mm-hmm. So during John's strife, it is kind of a different orchestration of the same battle music as was used in the Dad encounter.
Right.
Which is our intro music. But it's a different orchestration. And then Rose's music is, apparently, you say it's called Aggrieve by Mark Hadley.
Yes.
So, and it's a different melody. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering if all the characters have different strife-like themes.
I'm not sure I can actually recall about the strife themes. I do know that they all have their own sort of, like, haunting melody type of thing.
Okay.
Or maybe... I think maybe Dave doesn't, but Rose, John, and the fourth one that we're not going to meet for a while yet. I'll have one.
So those are like their motifs,
right? Yeah, and it's interesting. So John's haunting piano refrain is also his like it's reorchestrated or it's like rearranged to be his strife theme.
Battle, yeah,
right, and it's rearranged a couple different ways for his strife with his dad and now with the imp. Mm-hmm. Dave, we haven't seen Strife yet. And Rose plays a haunting violin refrain, but then I don't think that her Strife track Aggrieve is a rearrangement of that.
Right, I don't think so, but I'd have to double check.
Yeah, that's interesting. Let's look into that right now. That's what this podcast is for, is funny little tidbits like that. So let me, hang on. Aggrieve. Oh, okay, so it is actually... 21-22 is when Rose plays her violin refrain. Mm-hmm. But I feel like it's a little bit less melodic than John's, so the theme of it is a little bit less obvious. But yeah, it actually does look like, so in Rose's case, Aggrieve, like the strife music, was the original, and then there's a rearrangement of that to be her violin refrain.
Right, okay.
So the violin refrain, so Aggrieve is written by Mark Hadley, and for the violin refrain, it was arranged by Andrew Huo, and mastered by Gabe Nezovic. So I guess that is a synthetic violin, I'm not really sure. But then Aggrieve itself is just by Mark Hadley.
Cool.
So yeah, so the bottom line is, yes, Rose's strife theme and her refrain are the same, or are thematically related.
Nice.
Yeah. Continuity. Ooh.
Yeah. This comic was put together competently.
Yeah. That's what I love about this comic, is it sprawls the way that a superhero universe does, but it's not done by committee.
Yeah.
So it all comes together. It's like exactly what's appealing about reading like The Lord of the Rings.
Right.
Because it all ties together. Like, but all of it.
I'd say this even more than Lord of the Rings. Because Lord of the Rings was very kind of post hoc put together.
True.
Although I guess this kind of was too, with the retrograde foreshadowing.
So some of it is retroactive foreshadowing, but some of it definitely is like deliberate, like thematic coherence.
Right.
And like recurring motifs and stuff.
Right.
So, I do just want to point out that, so John wins his strife and triumphantly slams the bunny into the box because the imp was taunting him by, we don't know that it's an imp. Folks, it's an imp. I'm sorry. I feel like that's not an important spoiler to withhold.
Okay.
It isn't important. The name of them doesn't matter at all. But so this little creature is taunting him by holding his like authentic like Con Air prop bunny. And when John defeats it, he takes the bunny and like triumphantly slams it into the box so hard that it busts through the bottom of the cardboard and like lands on the floor.
Yeah.
I don't know why I find that so funny, but I really do.
It was a good visual gag.
Yeah. And then after having actually won a strife, which is I guess actually the first time we've seen that in this comic so far.
Yeah.
John
He picks up some loot.
He does.
So, and you actually, it was a nice touch that you actually, like, click the loot for him to pick it up.
Yes, it's all very interactive. You get to pick up the grist and the other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're deposited in front of this user interface, which I will talk about a little bit because we will see this again. This
is the level up screen.
Yeah, yeah. So these characters do sort of words. So it's interesting that, yes, Suburb brings you into this world and, like, the mechanics of the game interact with your real life. And it doesn't end there, and they're not surprised by this either. The fact that, like, you as a physical human being existing in the world can level up and, like, gain abilities, right?
Yeah.
So John has gone up 2 rungs in his echelon, which is a portmanteau that I really like. Mm-hmm. And it looks like instead of numbering the levels, you get ranks. And one device that I really like about this page is that we see about 15 ranks in the section of the window that we can see on this page, right?
Yes.
But the scroll bar, like, there's a scroll bar for it, and the scroll bar is very small and very, like, it's all the way down at the bottom, with the implication that, like, there's an enormous ways to go, which I get so excited about in video games. I love that. It's my favorite thing. When you find out, or like my favorite thing about starting World of Warcraft was, like, I came in and I was this, like, useless baby running around in the forest catching rabbits, and then you would see people, like, tromp by on their, like, magic, like, space tigers with these, like, this crazy armor and stuff, and they could, like, blow stuff up with, like, oh my god, and, like, their abilities are so powerful, whatever, and I get so excited when it's like, I could do that! Look at how far you can come!
Yeah, that is cute.
So, I don't know, and these kids do come enormously far in this comic in a lot of ways, and so I just I get excited by that. But then all of the ranks are pretty whimsical. They're basically just different ways of saying good and silly child.
Yes.
My favorite ones, Alex, what were your favorite ranks on this echelon?
It's hard to say. A lot of them are pretty good. I like Juva Squirt.
Juva Squirt.
I also like Gadabout Pipsqueak.
Yes.
Rumpus Buster. Brave Sprout. They're all really good.
They're all great. I was partial to Cool Buckaroo and Champ Fry.
Nice.
Because those are both things that I could imagine.
Calling your child?
Not so much my child. I love to, like, jokingly congratulate my friends in that way.
Okay.
I went through a phase where I called people Champ a lot.
Nice.
Yeah. So John levels up on his echelon, and he also deposits his newly found boon dollars into his ceramic pork hollow, which, if it's not immediately clear, is in fact a piggy bank, but is only ever referred to as a ceramic pork hollow.
Nice.
I'm an enormous fan of that nomenclature. It's, like, vaguely disgusting. It just strikes the perfect balance of, like, there's no balance to be struck. It's just ridiculous. I just like it.
Mm-hmm. So we've got some more grist, which means that we can do some more modification of the house when Rose gets back online.
Right. Yes, it means that they can build more, which will become very important in the future.
I'm sure. I kind of imagine, like, the house getting hugely expanded, like overtaking the void that they're in. Mm-hmm. But I don't want you to say anything about that because that would be a huge spoiler.
I will not comment. Oh my god, I really want to talk about that and I can't. Shit. Oh, this is... Yep. Okay, so that's... Yes, John gets some more grist, which means if Rose ever gets to a generator, she will be able to interact with his world some more. Mm-hmm. And
I just like the idea of, like, plugging a laptop directly into, like, a diesel generator.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's obviously not that weird. It's just a funny image.
Right, like, it's doable, but it's just, like... Yeah, it's a little bit...
It's kind of silly.
It is. Okay. I think that's... Oh, we should do general impressions.
General impressions, okay. Good. It was cool to meet Dave, and cool to see him kind of not be interested in the already set up conventions of meeting a new character. Like him slicing the name in half.
Yeah. Him sort of, in some small way at least, demonstrating. Lydia, shut up. Yeah, I like Dave. I like the way that Dave is introduced. I like who Dave is as a person. Mm-hmm. God, he gets to do so much interest. All of these characters get to do so much really interesting stuff later on. Yeah. So yeah, I think the main we should do like highs and lows. Can we do that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So meeting Dave is your high, I guess. Or no? What's your high?
No, I think my high was the fridge.
The fridge. The fridge war. Oh, yes.
The fridge, yeah, the arms race. It was very, very funny.
I like that. I do like, it's not so much a war as an arms race.
Yeah.
I feel you.
What was your high?
We should do lows first.
Okay.
My low, what was my low? Setting aside the casual racism.
Oh, really? That was going to be mine.
Yeah. My low... No, you know what? I'm just going to go out and say that. My low was, the, like, casually, like, problematic and offensive language. It, like... I'm, like, really attached to these characters, and it, like, hurts me to, like, see them written lazily and harmfully. I don't love that. I'm annoyed by it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's also my low, but I'll try to think of something else.
You can jump on the bandwagon if you want. Or if you have another low.
I guess my low, a very minor gripe, was rereading the same capsulog from before, just because like it felt kind of cheap, like they were filling space. But it was for a cool, like, to show that time had gone back, like we were looking at the past again.
Yes, I agree. I thought it was very cool. I don't know about you. I just didn't read it the second time.
No, yeah. It took me a minute to figure out that it was just the same as before.
Oh, true. That's true. If you don't know to expect it, you would end up reading... Because you don't expect to read a large chunk of copy-pasted text in a comic.
Yeah.
So
what was your high?
Oh. What was my high? That's hard. I liked a lot of things about this. I think that my high was Rose's strife with her mom. Mm-hmm. And specifically the pony. Yeah. I love a beautiful pony as, like, an attack of some kind. I love Rose and her mother. It's just such a beautiful, fucked up relationship.
Nice. All right, so guess what, Lydia?
What?
We have a question.
Oh my god, for real? Who's it from?
Our first question comes from Tumblr user Dwellington.
Our first question, not only just our first question, but our first question ever.
Yes.
Congratulations, Dwellington, and thank you for engaging. Do you know Dwellington, like, personally, or is this just, like, an interested party on the internet?
I don't, but they follow me, and I've seen them talk excitedly about the podcast.
Oh my gosh, wait, that's...
In the tags of our podcast posts. So thank you, Wellington, for caring about this.
Yes, thank you. Aw. All right.
So the question, I feel like I should ask you, since you probably would be able to answer this well.
Sure.
Dear Hamsteak Podcast, your wonderful podcast is making me want to reread Homestuck, but it is finals week here at my school, and I have a paper to write. Please advise.
So what I recommend, and something that works pretty well for me when I'm doing the readings for this pod, because I'm also in school right now and managing finals and all that. So the bits that if you want to read along with us, we're only reading about 100 to 200 pages tops per week. And we usually publish, we can start doing that, actually publishing what we're going to read for the next week so that you can read.
That's probably a good idea.
With us? Yeah, that's a thing that we should do. But yeah, so one thing that you could do is read along with us, at least for now. We are going to read it rather a snail's pace. It's going to take us about a year to finish, at this rate, if we don't pick up the pace later on.
Right.
But also what works for me is I just say that, I'll like set a timer and say that I'm only allowed to read for this amount of time, because otherwise, like, I've noticed that the way that Homestuck is written is even when there's a logical stopping point, the logical stopping points are written such that you don't ever want to stop there. Like, if there is more content, you want to consume more content because you need to find out what happens next. They're all like cliffhangers. So it works better to just say I can read this for 20 minutes and then I'll go do the thing. And it also makes a good study reward.
Nice.
Or you can just not sleep, which is another way that I've handled reading Homestuck and doing school in the past. So
another option.
Yeah. I can't endorse the second option, but you are more than free.
You also can't stop anyone.
Yes.
All right. So thank you for the question, Dwellington.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's exciting.
Oh my God, we got a question. We're like real people.
We're like real podcasters.
God. Okay, yeah, so thank you for listening, and I guess this is the part now where we remind you where you can find us in person and as a podcast, or not in person, but as individuals and as a podcast.
Well, don't tell us where we live. Don't tell them where we live.
I don't intend to. So my name's Lydia. You can find me on Twitter as BrickChip, like the word brick and then the word chip spelled the way that you spell those words. And you can also find me on Tumblr with the exact same thing, BrickChip.
I'm Alex, and you can find me on Tumblr at LeafCrunch, which is appropriately seasonal right now, but will remain the same indefinitely because I'm finished with seasonal URLs.
Oh, wow. What a pronouncement.
Yeah, it is too much work. And in that vein, you can find me on Twitter at Autumn TIMB, which we will not pronounce here on the podcast, but that will probably change soon because it's not autumn anymore, or it technically is, but it is getting cold. So I will find something non-seasonal to change it to next.
Aw.
It's been a good run.
Yeah. I'm really going to miss your seasonal URLs. It was always, because you would never, like, announce it ahead of time. You would just, like, suddenly you'd be someone different. And it was like, oh, that's Alex. Oh, and it's winter now. That's right. Like,
Well, maybe I will think about keeping it.
Oh, no, don't enslave yourself to your following. God.
What else do I have to do on this earth?
You produce content first and foremost for yourself.
That's true.
Hell yeah.
I don't expect anyone else but me to read what I say online.
Aw. And yet.
No, but I mean, like, I know people are going to, but I don't belabor anyone who doesn't.
I feel you.
Right.
Yeah, so as we mentioned, you are totally free to follow us, ask us a question, tell us how we're doing at hamsteakpodcast on Twitter and on Tumblr. Mm-hmm. And then our SoundCloud account is hamsteak-podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have a Gmail, hamsteakpodcast@gmail.com. Any way you would like to contact us is more than appreciated. So for next week, we're going to be reading pages 2306 through 2410, in which, attempting not to spoil this for you, Rose defiles a tomb, Dave snoops on his bro, and Wayward Vagabond attempts to learn some goddamn manners.
I can't wait.
Awesome.
All right, so see you next week, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.